After the Olmedos family moved from their village to the house at Malasana 32 in Madrid, some unusual events started to happen to them. Today's movie is based on a true story centered around those very incidents. The time was 1972. Two children were playing marbles in a house in Madrid. During the game, one marble rolled into the next room. At first, neither of them wanted to go get it, because entering that room was forbidden. Still, one of them gathered the courage and opened the room's door, and in the dim light, saw someone sitting on a chair. Right beside that person, the marble lay on the floor. The child cautiously tried to retrieve it, but as soon as the woman sitting in the chair turned and looked at him, the child was so terrified that he ran out of the room. The story picks up again exactly 4 years later, in 1976, when a family from a small town moved into that same house in Madrid. The house's name was Malasana 32. The family members were husband and wife, Manola and Candela, their 3 children Raphael, Amparo, and Papaya, and their grandfather Fermin. Before entering the house, Fermin looked up at the window upstairs and said, "This house doesn't feel right. I can sense a negative energy here." But no one really paid attention to his words. Amparo was the one facing the most trouble adjusting after moving, as she had to leave her boyfriend behind. On top of that, she was under pressure due to her training to become a flight attendant. Papaya, however, was actually quite happy to be there. He had seen a beautiful girl in the house across the street. Everyone started cleaning the house and organizing their belongings. It took a long time, since the belongings of the previous residents were still scattered all around. Eventually, everyone moved into their rooms. Raphael and Fermin shared a room. But later that night, when Amparo came to her room and didn't find her grandfather, she went out to look for him. Suddenly, the room's door slammed shut and Raphael got locked inside. As Amparo bent down and looked under the door, she saw the feet of a demonic figure inside. Shocked, she screamed loudly, and their parents rushed upstairs. After a struggle, they managed to open the door, only to find Raphael sitting at the edge of the window, facing outward with his legs dangling. Manola quickly ran to him and pulled him to safety. Even though such a strange thing happened on the very first day, the family tried to forget it and return to their daily routine, pressured by household responsibilities and financial worries. Manola worked as a mechanic, and his wife had a sales job. At home, Amparo took care of her grandfather and younger brother while also continuing her flight attendant training. One day, upon hearing some noises from the kitchen, Amparo went to check and found Raphael talking to himself. Just then, Fermin saw someone in the background and walked toward them. Amparo noticed this and followed him. A marble suddenly rolled in front of Raphael, and as he went to pick it up, he ended up in the same room from the beginning of the story, where the woman was once seen sitting in the chair. Before Raphael could understand what was happening, the TV in that room turned on by itself and started playing cartoons. Suddenly, the cartoon changed to a strange character who began talking directly to Raphael. It said, "Do you want to play with me? Then come with my friend now. We'll have so much fun together." Terrified, Raphael quickly turned off the TV. But then the chair behind him began to move. And the next moment, 2 hands reached out from the TV screen, grabbed Raphael by the face, and pulled him inside. Meanwhile, Amparo found Fermin, who kept repeating the same thing, "There's someone in this house, and they won't let us stay." When Amparo brought him back inside, they found that Raphael had vanished. With no other option, they called the police, who started an investigation. At the same time, Candela, Manola, and Papaya went out searching for Raphael. Just then, the house phone suddenly rang. Amparo answered it and heard Raphael's cries for help on the other end. She was terrified. The strangest part? The telephone line had been disconnected long ago, so how did the call even come through? Right then, the call was cut off. Soon after, Raphael's screams were heard coming from the long-locked room. They broke the door and entered but found no trace of Raphael. That's when Amparo noticed movement behind the window curtain. It looked like Raphael was standing there. But when she pulled the curtain aside, instead of Raphael, it was that old woman, who grabbed Amparo's hand tightly. Terrified, she screamed, and her parents came and comforted her. After this incident, the entire family was deeply affected. That day at work, Candela met a girl named Lola, who, upon seeing her, immediately began blowing a whistle. Lola couldn't speak, so she used the whistle to communicate. Then Lola's mother came and told Candela, "Please keep an eye on your children." She handed her a prayer book and said, "This will protect you from the negative energy." The next day, Amparo found a phone number for a woman named Sujana in the old telephone directory in the house. Thinking she might be the previous owner, Amparo called her from a phone booth. But as soon as Amparo mentioned the address Malasana 32, Sujana immediately hung up. Meanwhile, Papaya had struck up a good conversation with the girl from the house across the street. But strangely, after the first day, the girl never came to the window again. She only communicated through letters, which were sent using a string tied between the houses. The girl revealed her name was Clara, and she said, "I know your brother is safe." Papaya asked, "How do you know?" The reply came, "Meet me in the basement after 20 minutes. When Papaya went there as instructed, as soon as he appeared, suddenly from behind in the darkness, Papaya was dragged away by that old woman. But somehow, he managed to break free from their grip and escaped. On the other hand, Amparo started feeling unwell. After vomiting in the washroom, she noticed a strange, long handprint on her stomach. However, thinking it was just a coincidence, she ignored it. Amparo realized that she was pregnant by her boyfriend. Later, as she was about to enter the kitchen, she saw through the glass on the door that an old woman was standing inside. But when she opened the door, she found her grandfather standing there instead. Feeling that something was off, she closed the door again, and saw the old woman again in place of her grandfather. Gathering her courage, she stepped inside once more, and her grandfather spoke in Raphael's voice, "Pick up the phone." At that moment, the telephone placed nearby started ringing. As Amparo picked up the call, she was instructed to go toward the clock kept in the next room. When she went there, she heard Raphael's voice coming from inside the clock. Amparo broke the glass of the clock and rescued Raphael from inside. In the evening, when the doctor came and checked Raphael, he said Raphael had gone into shock and needed to be looked after carefully. That night, while Candela was sleeping beside Raphael, she saw an old woman standing in the corner of the wall. But the next moment, the woman vanished, causing Candela to scream in fear. Meanwhile, Amparo tried to take poison, feeling like her career was over and that she wouldn't be able to survive with the baby. But just as she was about to drink the poison, the lights in the room went out, and the glass slipped from her hand. From that night onwards, strange incidents began happening to each member of the family. For example, Papaya started receiving many more letters than usual, each saying, "You are mine." One day, Manola saw the terrifying old woman inside his room and got extremely scared. He took his family and spent that night in a different hotel. The next morning, without wasting a moment, he went to the bank to sell the house and settle the loan. But the manager told him that they had to repay the home loan within the stipulated time, and until that was done, they had to continue living in that house. Everything seemed to be going wrong. On top of that, Candela also lost her job. Before leaving her workplace, she took Lola's address and went to her house to meet her. There, she learned from Lola's mother that Lola had a strange ability to see spirits. After hearing everything, the mother and daughter agreed to help and came to the house at Malasana 32. At that moment, Amparo was the only one not at home because she had gone to meet Sujana. When she arrived at Sujana's house, she saw that Sujana was an elderly woman. As soon as Sujana saw her, she began asking numerous questions about her and her family. After hearing everything, Sujana suddenly said, "A small child from your house is about to disappear very soon." Hearing this, Amparo shared all the strange incidents happening at her home. After listening to it all, Sujana went to fetch her some water, but didn't return for a long time. In the meantime, Amparo began searching the house and found an album. Inside it was a picture of a woman who looked exactly like the one in the framed photo hanging on Amparo's wall at home. In several of the album's photos, there was also a picture of a boy who looked just like the woman in that wall photo. Just then, Sujana returned and said, "That's not me. That's Clara." Which meant, this was the same Clara with whom Papaya had been communicating through the letters all this time. But how was that even possible? Sujana said, "The spirit you're seeing in your house isn't just any ghost. It's Clara. She's my own sister. But she wasn't born a girl, she was born a boy." That means the boy in the album photo wasn't anyone else but Clara herself. Despite being born male, Clara's nature was always like a girl's. She behaved like girls, wore their clothes, and did everything like them. She dreamed of becoming a mother. One day, Clara was caught in the basement in a compromising situation with another boy. Her parents couldn't accept it at all. As a result, they began to abuse her. As punishment, they locked her up in a room, the very room where Raphael was found. Over time, Clara completely transitioned into a woman. Unable to accept this, her parents later committed suicide out of shame. Sujana blamed Clara for their parents' death. That's why she cut off all ties with her. In reality, there were two houses in Malasana 32, one belonged to Sujana and the other to Clara. To cope with her loneliness, Clara tried many times to contact Sujana, but Sujana never forgave her. That loneliness, pain, and isolation slowly destroyed Clara. But one thing that never died was her desire to be a mother. That's why, after her death, her spirit kept searching for a child in that house. Initially, she targeted Raphael. But when she discovered that Amparo was pregnant, Amparo became her new target. After hearing all of this, Sujana became extremely emotional and sympathetic toward Clara. She felt that when Clara needed her family the most, they abandoned her. Was it such a sin to be transgender? All her life, Clara was neglected and unaccepted for her gender identity, not just by society, but also by her sister and parents. They deprived a mother of her own child. Meanwhile, when Lola tried to connect with Clara, Clara instead possessed her. Just then, the telephone in the room suddenly rang. As the call was answered, a cold wind began blowing through the room. Clara began violently throwing each family member across the room. Finally, only Lola's mother and Raphael were left. When Clara was about to kill Raphael, Amparo arrived just in time and stopped her. Apologizing, she said, "What happened to you is truly tragic. I understand your pain." Hearing this, Clara calmed down for a moment. But all the years of pent-up anger drove her to ignore everything and move toward killing Raphael again. At that moment, Amparo grabbed a piece of broken glass and stabbed herself in the stomach, because she knew Clara wanted the baby inside her. Clara screamed in agony, and taking this opportunity, Manola jumped out of the window with the possessed Lola. Manola died, and Lola survived by landing on top of him. After that, Clara's spirit left Lola's body. A few days later, Amparo's family was shown leaving the house. It turned out Manola had life insurance. After his death, the family received a large sum of money, which they used to pay off the home loan and move back into their old house. In the final scene, the chair in the room at Malasana 32 is shown moving again, indicating Clara was still waiting in that house, waiting for a child. And with that, the movie ends.